Read a New Zealand weather warning in late winter and you will find something odd. Between the road closures and the flooding advice, the forecaster speaks straight to farmers. Check your stock, make a plan, watch for young lambs. No other kind of forecast does that. Nobody tells office workers to prepare for snow above 800 meters. The reason is a calendar decision made on every sheep farm in the country. New Zealand puts its newborn lambs outside during the coldest weeks of the year. That is not carelessness, and it is not tradition. It is the price of the cheapest food system in the developed world. Here is the situation on the ground. There are close to 23 million sheep in New Zealand. That is the smallest national flock in living memory. It is still about 4 sheep for every person here. In a normal spring, about 19 million lambs are born. Almost every one of them is born in a paddock. No barn, no shed, no straw, no heat lamp. The ewe finds a hollow out of the wind, and that is the delivery room. Most lambing happens from the middle of August into October. In the South Island high country, snow is still perfectly possible in that window, so the obvious question is why nobody simply waits. Move lambing to November, and the weather problem mostly disappears. The answer is grass. New Zealand does not feed its sheep from a silo. It feeds them from the paddock they are standing in. That is why lamb from here can compete on price anywhere in the world. Grain is expensive, buildings are expensive, grass grows on its own, but grass does not grow evenly through the year. It slows almost to nothing in winter. Then, as the soil warms in spring, it accelerates hard. Now put a ewe on top of that curve. A pregnant ewe eats a moderate amount. A ewe feeding a lamb eats more than at any other point in her life. 3 to 4 weeks after giving birth, her appetite peaks. A farmer wants that peak to land exactly when the grass takes off. Line those 2 curves up, and the lambs grow fast on free feed. Miss the timing, and the farmer is buying supplement to fill the gap. So the lambing date is chosen to match the grass, not the temperature. The grass wakes up before the cold leaves. Everything else follows from that single overlap, and the date really is chosen, quite deliberately, by hand. A ewe carries a lamb for about 147 days. That is roughly 5 months. So a farmer sets the lambing date by choosing when to put the rams out. Move the rams by a week, and every birth moves by a week, which means the snow warning arriving in August was answered back in March. Somebody opened a gate, and the whole season was locked in. This is why farmers talk about lambing as the hardest weeks of their year. It is also where the animal welfare numbers live. Across New Zealand flocks, about 15 lambs in every 100 do not reach weaning. Most of those deaths are not spread evenly. About 3/4 of them happen in the first 3 to 5 days of life. A newborn lamb is small, wet, and carries almost no fat. It has one source of heat, and that is its mother's milk. If it cannot find her quickly, its temperature falls. Wind matters more than the number on the thermometer. A wet, windy day at 5 degrees can be worse than a still, dry snowfall. So a forecast of snow to 400 meters during lambing means something specific. They hear a mortality figure moving. What can actually be done is smaller than you might think. A farmer can shift ewes to sheltered paddocks and gullies. Shelter belts of trees planted decades ago do real work on days like that. Ewes carrying twins can be put in the safest country available. Feed can be moved out early before the roads become a problem. And then everybody waits, because you cannot bring 20,000 sheep indoors. It is worth asking how the country ended up organized this way. The answer is a ship. In 1882, a vessel called the Dunedin sailed from Port Chalmers. Its hold was full of frozen sheep carcasses, bound for London. The cargo arrived in good condition, and it changed everything. Before that voyage, sheep here were mostly kept for wool. Afterwards, this country had a meat industry aimed at a market half a world away. That industry needed lambs ready at a particular time, grown at the lowest possible cost. Grass in spring was the answer then, and it is still the answer now. There is a version of this country where none of that is necessary. Sheep live in barns. Lambing happens under a roof and a light. Feed comes from a silo, on a schedule, all year. That system exists in other places, and the lambs are warmer. The meat is also more expensive, and the emissions look different. New Zealand chose the paddock and has kept choosing it for well over a century. If you find the machinery behind everyday New Zealand interesting, share this with someone. A weather warning that talks to farmers is not really a warning about weather. Snow in late August surprises nobody in the high country. The lambs will be out there because the grass will be there. And the gate that decided it was open 5 months earlier, in the last warm weeks of summer. The grass sets the date. The ewes follow the grass. The weather only finds out afterwards.